It started with blurry footage. Then, the Pentagon admitted it was real. In the last decade, US Navy crews have chased impossible shapes across radar and infrared, only to have government investigators confirm the encounters remain unexplained. If official evidence exists, why are answers still missing? The consequences for pilots, for fleets, and for public trust have never been higher. Here is what has finally been revealed. On November 14th, 2004, off the coast of Southern California, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group tracked unknown objects on radar, dropping from 80,000 feet to sea level in seconds. Commander David Fravor, flying an FA-18, reported seeing a white oblong craft with no wings or exhaust, later called the Tic Tac. After Fravor's close encounter, Lieutenant Chad Underwood captured the now famous FLIR, one infrared video, using his jet's targeting pod. The footage, officially released by the Department of Defense in April 2020, shows a featureless object maneuvering in ways pilots could not explain. Despite radar, visual, and infrared data, only a brief video clip has reached the public, leaving crucial details like full radar tracks and original files still classified. Both Fravor and Underwood have since spoken openly, describing a chain of events that remains unexplained by conventional technology. In January 2015, a Navy FA-18 flying off the Atlantic coast captured what would become known as the gimbal video. The footage, later verified and released by the Department of Defense, shows a dark, oval-shaped object gliding against the clouds, then slowly rotating in a way that left the aircrew baffled. Cockpit audio records pilots exclaiming, "Look at that thing, dude. It is rotating." Unlike the earlier West Coast case, this encounter was tracked by the jet with an advanced ATF LIR targeting pod, but the sensor readouts alone could not clarify the nature of the object or its distance. Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who has spoken about these incidents, points out that without radar data or visual confirmation, infrared footage can be misleading. The gimbal clip stands out as a documented hazard in restricted airspace, yet its true identity remains out of reach, highlighting the challenge of relying on a single sensor to explain the unknown. The third Navy video, known as Go Fast, was captured in 2015 by an FA-18 crew over the Atlantic. The clip shows a small object racing just above the ocean surface, prompting excited cockpit chatter about its speed and low altitude. Ryan Graves, a former FA-18 pilot, has described repeated encounters with similar objects during this period, raising concerns about airspace safety among aviators. While the video appears to show something zipping over the water at extraordinary speed, frame-by-frame analysis suggests a different story. Analysts point out that based on the targeting pod's data, the apparent velocity is an illusion caused by parallax. The fast-moving jet and the camera angle make a distant, slower object seem to streak by. The Department of Defense officially released the Go Fast footage in 2020, confirming its authenticity, but not its origin. For the pilots, however, the persistent presence of unknown objects in training airspace remained a real and unresolved issue. On the night of July 14, 2019, the bridge crew of the USS Kidd recorded an unidentified aerial vehicle hovering above their flight deck, its white light visible against the darkness. Over the next several nights, destroyers, including the USS Russell and the USS Paul Hamilton, logged repeated incursions by multiple drones, some lingering overhead for as long as 90 minutes. Deck logs for the Russell described 3 unknown UAS hovering at 700 feet, later joined by 2 more, while bridge teams tracked their bearings and ranges in real time. The ships coordinated closely, activating Snoopy teams to document the activity and relaying updates to the Coast Guard for support. Despite broadcasting warnings and attempting contact with nearby vessels, no operator responded. The persistent flights took place just miles from Navy live fire ranges, near San Clemente Island, a sensitive area for military exercises. For the crews, the pattern was clear. This was not a stray drone, but a coordinated presence night after night. Deck logs from the USS Russell and USS Kidd detail the response to repeated drone incursions in July 2019. Entries note that Kidd reported a UAV overhead and that a white light was identified hovering over the ship's flight deck. On July 17th, the Russell's logs note 3 unknown UAS hovering at 700 feet, with additional drones joining later in the night. Crews activated Snoopy teams, specially trained sailors tasked with photographing and documenting unusual activity. Internal Navy messages confirm that imagery and radio frequency data were collected during these encounters, but the resulting photos and videos remain classified. Some night vision stills, later shown in Pentagon briefings, depict triangular light patterns, which officials attribute to camera artifacts rather than the shape of the objects. Despite the documentation, the Navy has not identified the operators or platforms behind these drones. The collected evidence now resides in the UAP Task Force database, but the full sensor suite and Snoopy logs have not been released, leaving key questions unresolved. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its preliminary assessment on unidentified aerial phenomena in June 2021, tallying 144 military unidentified aerial phenomena, reports between 2004 and 2021. Of those, 80 included data from multiple sensors: radar, infrared, and visual. Only one case, a large balloon, was clearly identified. The rest remained unresolved, often due to limited or inconsistent data. In response to growing congressional pressure, the Department of Defense established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in July 2022. AARO's mandate covers incidents in air, sea, and space, with authority to collect, analyze, and report on unidentified aerial phenomena cases across the entire United States government. This move formalized a process for evaluating and cataloging new reports, aiming to standardize how unexplained phenomena are investigated and to improve transparency with lawmakers. On July 26, 2023, David Grush, a former Air Force intelligence officer, testified under oath before the House Oversight Committee. Grush said he had been told about secret government programs to recover and study non-human craft, but he stated he had not personally seen any such materials. The intelligence community Inspector General found his whistleblower complaint credible and urgent with respect to alleged retaliation, not with respect to the truth of the crash retrieval claims. No physical evidence or official documentation of non-human technology has been released to the public. Congressional hearings and new transparency provisions in the National Defense Authorization Act have increased pressure for answers, but Grush's most extraordinary claims remain unverified. With every official review, the unexplained grows harder to dismiss. As new reports surface, public scrutiny, not secrecy, will shape what we learn next. The search for answers is now ours. Share your thoughts below.